Hey there, everyone. Tom Miller here, founder and executive coach at Leaders Building Leaders, where our organization, it's simple. We set out to be the difference maker in our leadership development of individuals and organizations every day, set to solve the greatest challenges by all public charter schools. So here we are. It's chapter 16. We were talking about what great principles do differently. In this chapter, Todd Whitaker talks about making it cool to care. And I could tell you that in my 3 years as a director of a middle school, I clearly didn't understand what it meant to care. I cared. I had a lot of care and I put a lot of time and effort, but I was caring and keeping score at the same time. That was not a good way to lead. So I love how Whitaker puts this in here, making it cool to care. And it wasn't until I got off my own agenda, I got to travel the state, I saw a couple of school leaders, Mountain Community School in Henderson County, the Greensboro Academy, and Community School of Davidson. These were the three that really opened my eyes to what caring could be. And within all three, I brought back initiatives to our school. And the main initiative that I felt made it cool to care were called Standing Ovations. And Standing Ovations was an opportunity that every 3 weeks, as a grade level, we were too big as a whole school to get together, so we got together as a grade level, and it was an opportunity for me in front of the 100 students in that grade level to give thanks to the teachers specifically, who I felt really cared and did something that month to care for one another, and then I singled out students to do the same. Anybody I saw who really I thought made a difference in someone else's life. Maybe it was holding the door, maybe it was standing up for somebody, maybe it was someone who came to my office to let me know that they felt that one of their friends, wasn't being treated very well. So this trickled down. So then the teachers had their opportunity. They went adult to students, and then the students' turn. They also got to give thanks to some of the adults in their lives, but then they got to turn around and tell their friends how they were making a difference. And then through this, every teacher had this beautiful made postcard, and they got to write a handwritten note. And each one picked one student per every session to give their standing ovation to. So we had a lot of gratitude, a lot of opportunities for sharing, but then it always completed with this is who they were giving their standing ovation to. So this was all part of a series that we did. It was also a positive points program where students were rewarded, classrooms were rewarded for being on time, being prepared, caring, right? Caring about each other, caring about the environment, caring about our campus, right? So maybe they, forfeited their recess time to go pick up trash, something to that effect. And this points, program was, part of the standing ovation program to give some consistency amongst our school culture, because I got tired of telling kids to tuck in their shirt and pick up trash. So we built a reward system around it where kids started to care. It became cool to care. Another thing that we did, we also brought in this guest speaker who spoke about his middle school son who had ended his life. But this, I got to see this speaker 3 times that day, and no matter how many times he spoke, it gave me chills. But I could clearly see the impact that this caring started to have. Right, we started to build programs to make sure that students understood the capacity of just being a good human being and being well-natured. And there's a couple stories that I'll share, from this. But we had, food drives and just great community events on campus. To the end of the school year, we had this massive EOG breakfast where we had just this unbelievable buffet line of food for our kids and these, parents that were just cheering on their children. It really was probably the most special 18 months that I've ever had as a professional. Because I think we just, got it. We started to get it, and we started to really come together as a team. Minus the issues that I had caused in my first 18 months as a principal. But 2 stories in particular, and they're both about the same teacher. But one was a phone call that I received from a parent early in the morning on a half day. And at this time, we were doing our benchmarks for some ungodly reason on the last day of every quarter, which was a half day. I'm not sure who planned that out, but probably wasn't very smart on this guy's part. I'm sure it was me who set the calendar. Not anyway. So I had a parent who called me, and a lot of our parents drove from 30, 40 minutes to come to our school. So if you think about this, they came to school, they left at 7 a.m., they got to the school at 8, and then they would drive home, so they get home at 9, and then they'd have to get back on the road because I think school ended like 11:30 or 12 o'clock, so they really didn't spend any time. So she goes, hey, listen, do I have to bring my child to school today? And I said, tell me more. And she's like, well, he says he's got to go because he's got to take his reading benchmark, and he doesn't want to let the teacher down. And I just said to her, as I was eating my bowl of breakfast, probably, Frosted Flakes, one of my favorite cereals, by the way. Frosted Flakes are great. They're great, and they care. That I wanted her to hear her own words. I said, I'm sorry, let's say, Mrs. Smith, did I hear you correctly that your child, who's never passed an end of grade test in his entire life, is telling you he has to come to school on a half a day in April to take a benchmark so he doesn't let his teacher down, and somehow this is a problem? I was like, I'll take him home if that's the issue, right? I mean, it was just amazing. I wanted her to hear her words, and it was so clear how this teacher had instilled these amazing core values and work ethics in her middle school classes. She was by far probably the most talented teacher I've ever had fortunate experience to lead. So that was just one of the great stories. The second great story, I'll just say this. We did get wind from a parent that she hid all of her kids' books because the child was reading instead of getting her chores done, right? So it was really exciting to hear these stories and to talk through these parents about how can we work together on this? How can we work on getting our chores done, but making sure we're not hiding books from our kids, from our kids who are in poverty. It was in a rural charter school, and yet the parents were hiding books to get their chores done. I get it. As a parent of two, I think you want to hide some things so kids, maybe respond to you better, but I can't imagine hiding a book on my own child. So anyway, I love this chapter. I love how Todd Whitaker has really reminded me about how caring is so important to your school culture. So if you find that your culture is not very strong, ask that question. Do people care about each other? Do I care about each other? How do people know that I care about them at their school? So again, Tom Miller, Leaders Building Leaders, feel free to reach out and get a free consultation, coaching. And we could talk a little bit about your culture and what initiatives that you may need to put in for next year to ensure that your culture is about caring and not necessarily about product. Have a great day.